Hi guys, it's Grace. Welcome back to my painting channel. In this video, I'm going to bring you along with me from start to finish through my new painting, the Weeping Willow. Essentially just came from me thinking of the name, a weeping willow, and the idea that maybe it's a tree that one would go to cry and find comfort, or even just having like a bit of sad personification of this weeping droopy tree with a girl underneath or beside the tree, like with her head in her hands. That's my idea, and I don't think it's changed this whole time. That's kind of what I picture, and I've done a few thumbnails and stuff that I will show you, but I'm really just going to get into it. And my tripod is also broken right now, so it's going to be more like updates along the way of the process and my thoughts in the moment about the painting. This is a very quick thumbnail I did of pretty much what's exactly in my head, and I'm still thinking that this is probably the composition I'm going to go with. But I wanted to play around with some other ideas just to be sure I was making the right choice, and I do actually like some of them. This one, probably not as much. I do stick with a symmetrical composition for a lot of my paintings, and I don't think it works in my favor for this piece. I actually really like this one, especially having her hair drop down like the trees around her and her body kind of arching into this leaning trunk. But I am pretty set on the position I want the girl to be in, which is more head in hands, crouching down. And I do also really like this one. It seems a little more like we've interrupted a private moment, kind of sneaking up behind her and seeing her facing away, crouched down by the tree trunk. So I'm not sure between this composition and this one. I feel this one might be a little easier and fun for me, especially with the reflections and these shapes kind of coming around. I wanted to do some rocks as well, maybe with some fairy swirls on them. So I did a few sketches just to be sure I'm happy with some of my reference photos. I do really like these ones. And then there's also this. I think I might make her a little smaller in the painting than my usual pieces. Really want to get the scale of the tree and have it a little more focused on the background. And I feel like I'm quite confident with how to draw the willow tree, even though I haven't done a whole lot of practicing. It's sad that I can't really get my own references because I don't have large willow trees around me. But I think looking up online, I'll be able to get a general idea of their shapes. Maybe pair a few references together and come up with my own design. As I said, I'm pretty set on how I want her to be positioned. It's just more of a matter of whether I want her to be high on her knees like this and really creating that arch following around with her hair down. I do really like the shapes in this drawing, or if I want her to be a little lower, softer and more realistic with her pose, which I think I'm leaning towards these. This is the wooden block that I use to do my paintings on. I stretch my watercolor paper on here, and I had this piece all prepared for the Weeping Willow painting. I went on a little trip, and in my bag it got this ink or something on it that I can't get off. I knew I was going to have to make whatever art I did on this paper a lot smaller. Started this other painting that I'm planning to do about tidal pools. You see I've got a message in the bottle and all sorts of little ocean trinkets. And this once again set back my willow painting because I knew that I wanted to use the full size of the paper for that. But I got my dad to cut me a bunch of nice pieces of wood for future art blocks. So I've got this large one. If I ever want to do something bigger in future, I can fit like an A3 page on this, probably even bigger. And then I also have these two smaller ones for A5s and little bookmarks. And then another A4 kind of size. And do my Weeping Willow painting on here now. And I'm really happy to have more of these now, so I can do multiple paintings and keep them going at the same time. I don't know why I never thought of this before, but I've just kind of had my one piece, and I would finish this painting before I worked on a new one because this is where I stretch my paper on it, and I've been doing this for a year or two. The block is pretty big and heavy, so I'm glad to have these lighter, thinner pieces that are easier to lie flat and carry around with me when I'm on the move. Here's my paper all stretched, the border drawn up, so I think I'm just going to start drawing and see what comes. I will update you soon. Okay, so I've started and we've got the base kind of the tree. I'm really trying to make it twisting around because that's what I think of willow trees a lot. And then I'm working on the leaves now. I want to have some like long tendrils in front and then kind of in the back. I've done this other sketch where you can kind of see almost like, you know, it's a disc kind of, and make it kind of 3D, almost like she's inside the tree, and maybe the leaves behind will be glowing or something. But I feel like I've at least started, and I might change some stuff about it, but I've got a base to work from. Right, I've made some good progress on the drawing, and I've mixed a couple of the poses together. I really like her hair in this pose. I feel like it really replicates the shapes in the willow branches. I wanted her sitting down more like this, kneeling, rather than up high on her knees. I've come up with this for now, but I don't love it. I do like the way her skirt and her legs are looking, but I kind of wanted a little more length in her hair, and because she's lower to the ground now, I can't really do that without it going behind her. But I do feel like I'm getting somewhere with the composition, and I like working things out on the page like this. I'm just going to have to see how it turns out and if I want to redo my figure. So the painting is slowly but surely coming together, and I had an idea to have some of the willow leaves falling down very still and straight in the shape of tears, like the trees are crying, like this. And I'll just do a few of them. I still want the painting to have a very quiet, still, serene feeling. I want to use the composition as best I can to my advantage and really accentuate these oval and circular spiral shapes. So I've really accentuated the shape of the tree leaves, creating this arch around her. And then these rocks down here, I've kind of thought I should put a couple rocks here. It kind of continues this spiral around like that. But one thing I think is throwing this off a little is that this tree, we've got this shape that's really bending this way, but then these branches are going out here. And I did like the idea of having some more stones around her, kind of mystical, ancient feeling stones. So I think if I put one like kind of here, a little bit in front of the tree, we'll kind of tie these rocks together, and it will also cover up these roots back here. And I think that will just make a nicer shape for the painting and simplify the spiral. Just working on the reflection here now. More hazy and a washed out reflection of the colours, but I am really making sure that, we're lining up and getting the general shape. For her skirt, I'm using my reference photo, but I don't really want it to end as a sharp end to fabric. I'm thinking to kind of meld it in almost like she is a little part of the forest or becoming part of the forest, and kind of emulate these tree root shapes. Okay. We're mostly finished. It's the evening now, but as usual I just have a few little things that I need to finish up. The last like 10% of a drawing would take me the longest because I want to make sure that I have it right before I ink. I have a few reference photos I thought I would show you. This is one of them, and that's me in my handmade medieval dress. I'm actually very happy with how my character looks at the moment. I was looking back at some of my sketches. This one where she's kneeling up, I feel like it is a little bit confusing, and with a couple of these quite dramatic. Where's my other one? Especially here where you can see she's leaning over quite a lot, almost like she's very aggressively crying. I actually have a very specific feeling for this drawing, which was a very peaceful, quietly sad type of crying. Rather than despair and misery, it's just a passive sort of sadness. Before we start inking, time to put my masking fluid to mask off the edges of my border. Also, not so fun fact about masking fluid, I didn't really know it could expire. Maybe I had a weird one, but let me know if you think it expires. I had the Winsor & Newton one. I've just bought this one new because my last one, even though it was only half empty, it wouldn't come off my paper. I had to rub and rub, and it would leave a yellow like residual mark around the paper. And start going around the edges. Also, a little tip for you with your masking fluid is that it does dry with the air. So when I have the lid on, I store it upside down so that there's no air that can get in around the lid. And instead of letting each little bit dry, I just try and keep it wet as I drag it then down further and just make my way from one edge to the next. Okay, I think I'm ready to start inking. I might start with the tree trunk or something easy. Loving this. I think I want to just paint twisty trees forever now. I still don't think I'll put any ink on this, at least for now. I can go in later if I want, but what I mean is like the reflections down here. And I also think I might do some reflections of the willows. If you look at my shapes, so I've got, like I said, this big oval kind of shape being made by the branches here. And then the tree branches here just kind of go up, like at a sharp angle here. So I'm just thinking I might add a branch that comes out here like this and then goes up, or I'll bring some branches like here that go up to kind of round it off. And I'm just trying to decide which one, and then I'll be finished the ink. And I think I've fixed it. As usual, I took a photo and then tried a few different versions. I ended up going with this more leaning shape, and I actually added an extra branch on the bottom because it wasn't looking good enough. And I could always add more later, I think, but for now I think less is more, and I do like that a lot more. And also I'm going to put some of the reflections of the branches in. Well, today is the day to start the painting, and I'm going to show you my little setup. I up on a stool, and this is my easel, and I have this watercolor. This is my big ceramic watercolor palette, and I discovered one day that if I sit it in like this, like it uses leverage or whatever to just stay there. So now I kind of paint on here like this. A table down here. Sometimes I'll put my water there. Sometimes I'll really precariously balance it like that. And I just know one day it's going to fall off of there. It'd be nice to have some kind of thing that holds my water. And that's basically it. iPad for references. And I think I'm just going to start this. I don't have a whole lot of a plan going in with the colors. I want it to be somewhat melancholy and somber, but not really. Very pretty and sweet. So nice to be up to the painting part. It's definitely my favorite part of a painting, is the painting. And sometimes it's not until you're painting like this that you realize, see, like this branch, I don't know, it just disappears. So I'm gonna have to go in here later and maybe hint a little bit that it is back there. We can't have one just disappearing. I have made her dress purple. I was planning to go darker and more like a grey purple after this, but I don't even know if I will do that now. I'm looking at it and I'm not sure. I think it just looks a little too young and pretty and cutesy. So I might turn it into more like a grey or brown or something. I'm working on the reflections and I'm kind of just winging it at this point. Go in with my brush like this. And that one comes quite close. So I've still got my pencil lines that I'm going on. And then this one basically not quite touches actually. Go into the edges now and like blur them a little bit. Because like I say, I might go in like more time consumingly and make sure that I like all the shapes there. What happened? I spilled the water. I think this is my sign to stop for the day. I'm not loving the painting right now, to be honest, but I trust that over the next few days I can pull it together, and I feel like I've been here before with other paintings, and it's just the stage I'm in, but maybe it's because I've done a few paintings recently that started out pretty well that I'm starting to doubt myself, but I think I can pull it out of this. I think it's just a phase, and I have had enough for today. It's the next day. I'm feeling a little better about it. It wasn't as horrible as I thought, and I'm excited to just keep working on this. I've set myself up outside because it's so lovely and still today, and I work outside whenever I can, but I hate it being breezy and blowing my stuff around. After looking at some pictures of moss on rocks in the forest, I have decided to just be bold and go in brighter and darker than I think straight away. Sometimes it just takes me so long to get dark enough, and I think I also struggle with contrast sometimes in my paintings. I'm gonna start adding more greens and darkness to the trees, but I really need to decide, I think now, what I'm gonna do as far as, am I gonna have this background piece here be darker or lighter than my front. I still think I'm gonna make this front area where the trees are coming in the foreground darker, and then have it like the back is in shadow but more like blues that are kind of lighter, and because the front is more saturated and contrasted, it's going to be darker, at least than where it meets here. I am liking it a lot more now, and I feel like I have pulled it to a place that I can manage it. There are still different directions that I want to go in. I think I want to make it a little more somber and moody with its color palette, maybe not quite so green. I'm happy with my decision to leave the back as lighter and kind of this bluer shadow. I think it looks pretty cool. I've been altering the rocks here, making the moss and grass and stuff growing on them a lot darker. I think it looks a lot better. And now I'm going to start on this a little more, but I might work on some of these reflections now as well. And I'm going to try and finish it today if I can. I think I want to darken some of the leaf reflections so that this reflection of her isn't so stark and obvious, because I want to make sure that the focus is on the character up here. At this point, sometimes everything seems a little soft and washed out, and I just like to sharpen up the edge of like my character and my main objects. I was a little worried going in with this, but I basically just got some gouache, some white gouache, and I water it down, and then just kind of intuitively putting these little patterns down. And I do really like the way it looks, and now I'm kind of just going in with some little dots and putting little sparkly areas. I had to do stuff, and now it's almost dark, so my natural light is gone, but this warm light in here will suffice, I think, for my final details. Alright, I'm taking the masking fluid off now, because I don't think there's anything large I need to do, and that'll make me feel like it's more finished. Man, I really miss having my camera tripod thing. If anyone knows a good recommendation for a not too expensive but good like camera setup thing where I can like hold my phone and clip it onto here or something, I would very much appreciate it. I put the title and my signature, so that's good enough. I'll scan it tomorrow. It's the next morning and I wanted to look at it properly in daylight. I think I'm pretty happy with it, so I'm gonna cut it off and scan it.